Hi, welcome. Now I'm going to show you how to work on periodical files okay, on PivotTable. Okay, so for example, you receive here I have there is some sales data from every month. Okay, for you are in January month, you received a January month data, you are creating a pivot table on it. Next month again you receive a February data, then again in March you may receive a March data. So how can you work on this kind of every periodical data file? How can you update the data files data into your already built pivot table? Okay, assume that you have only January. Now you are in January, you have January file. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a pivot table on that. Before that, you can see what is there in the January file is the product, customer, and Q1 to Q4 sales. Okay, so what I am having here is that I am going to create a pivot table. So I'll go to data, and from data get external data. So I'm going to bring data from here and create a pivot table. Okay, data from text. Okay, I will go to the January. Okay, and import. Once you import, it shows the text import wizard. Choose the file type that best describes your data. Okay, which is delimited. This delimited file, mine is a tab delimited file, so I select the delimited. I want to import from the first row. Okay, my records as data headers. Okay, then I press next. Okay, what is my delimiters? My delimiter is tab, so I check on tab if it is not checked. If you can see the column separator is already appearing. Okay, if I want to treat multiple tabs as one delimiter, I need to check this one, but in my case I don't have. Similarly, you want to ignore some of the tabs as delimiter, you can make them as a text qualifier. You need to enclose those columns with a double quotation. Okay, next. Okay, now I have the column type. Okay, my column type, the first one is text because it has the product name. Similarly, my second column is the customer name, and the other columns are numbers. So I want to treat as a general. It will treat numbers as numbers, the dates as dates, and other things as text. Okay, then finish. Now once you finish, you will see the import data, where select how you want to view this data in your workbook. I want to view this data as table because you are selecting a text file, so you cannot use other options. You need to import first as a table. Okay, where do you want to put this data? In the existing worksheet I already have data. Okay, so now do you want to add this to data model? No, because I am not doing a multiple table analysis. I don't want to add it to data model now. Press OK. So now what you have is data. Okay, this is the data header and this your data. Okay, interestingly, you received your data from the file January, and it is already there in your worksheet. Now you need to create a pivot table on this data. Okay, so how do you do that? Go insert pivot table. Okay, now you have the pivot table records, but it's selected up to 278 rows. Okay, for the time being you just select the column wise. Okay, instead of the data on the row wise. Okay, so this part you remember here, then I will let you know why we are selecting the column wise instead of the full set of data. Okay, so now you go to choose where you want the pivot table report to be placed. It has to be in the new worksheet. Okay, add this data to the data model to analyze multiple tables. For the time being, no. Okay, So I press OK. Now it pops up the pivot table report area as well as the pivot table fields selection. Okay, in the pivot table field selection you select the necessary fields and the report will be appearing here. For my case I select the product, then I select the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 sales. Okay, so after that I also put the customer as a filter. Okay, report filter. So you can see the pivot table has been created already. Okay, so now the interesting part is that once I created the pivot table, I save this pivot table, I do my analysis, I save this worksheet and the pivot table is there. Here what you need to remember is that this pivot table depends on this data in the worksheet, not in the file. Okay, the file data is already imported to the data sheet. From this data only the pivot table is created. So whenever the file changed something, okay, whenever for example I just change it to 6761 the data file, okay, whenever it is changed, when I refresh this one, it is not appearing 6761. That means it's no more depending on the text file in the your data file folder. Okay, instead it depends in the data file. Okay, you want, if you change something in the text file, you want to change it to the pivot table, you must refresh the data first. You can see this one we changed to 6761, so refresh this. Okay, then you go to the January month, you can see the 6761. Okay, so this is updated. Now you come to pivot table and refresh, then you can see the updated value. Okay, so now you, for the next month, what will happen is that you want to you receive the February month data, you want to refresh the pivot table with this data. How can you do that? Okay, just refreshing won't do anything. So what you need to do, you must refresh the data first before refresh the pivot table. Okay, so you go to the data, I just refresh. Okay, I click somewhere. Okay, refresh. This time you select the February data. Okay, so only thing you must keep in mind that your format of this February data must be same as the January data. Okay, the column headers and the data type. Okay, so I just put February data and import. Once import, the new data has come into your data sheet. Okay, the data table. Now you can go to the pivot table and refresh. Okay, now the data change to the new data. Okay, so interestingly, for every month what you need to do is you need to just go to the data first and you use the refresh button here. Right click refresh button, you click somewhere in the data, then use the refresh button. There you can find the new file, you select the new file. Okay, for example in March, you select the March file, then you come here, then you refresh the pivot table, the data is changing. Then you may be having the question that my data format is correct, but my rows in each file may be different. Yes, that's why, do you remember, while selecting the pivot table, I didn't select as the range, I selected in column. Okay, the range, I didn't restrict the, I didn't select like this in the first time. Okay, from exactly how many rows to be considered. Okay, I selected the column wise. You can see that part here. Go to the pivot table, analyze, change source, data source. Here you can see I selected the A to F. Okay, then you no need to worry if the data files number of records may vary from month to month. Okay, as long as the column format is fine, you can able to refresh the table. Okay, if you selected this way from here to the last row, then every month what you need to do before refresh the table, you must go here. After importing your new data, you must come here, then analyze, change data source, and go here and again select the data set. Okay, according to the new data. If new data has only 100 records, you must select that 100 records. If new set is more than your previous set, then you select those records also included. Okay, so but the thing here is that in your pivot table, once you select the column wise, you may have a blank record here. Okay, you don't want the blank record to be shown here. You go here to the row labels, which is actually this one is a product. Okay, go here and deselect this one. Okay, then press OK, it will go off. If a blank record gives you some problem every time, then you must do, instead of selecting column wise, you must select only the up to the rows. Okay, in your pivot table while creating. Then the next time onwards, you use the analyze data, change data source to fix number of rows in every month. Okay, so this way you can overcome that problem if you don't want a blank record. Otherwise, you just select as column wise and filter the blank record here. Okay, so this is the way every month, not necessarily monthly, daily or weekly or periodical files. If you receive some files periodically, you can use it to update the pivot table. Okay, hope my video is helpful to you. If you like my videos, please subscribe to Alan. Channel button is already there in your screen, and also please leave your comments and suggestions, and God bless you.